Welcome to Habitz Xtra. Today we're going to be talking to Joe Burns about going through a sale of a business. So this is something that not many people have experienced, and I get a lot of questions about. So I'd love to hear what your experience of selling a business was.
Yeah, so a lot of people said to me, when you build and grow a business yourself, everyone always remarks and says, isn't it like your baby? Especially when you're exiting a business. How can you do that? Isn't it like your baby? And it is. Obviously, you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it over the years. But one of the things I think a lot of people who might be thinking about exiting or might be thinking about a business sale, what they do quite often is they take their eye off the ball towards the end. They know that the business is going to be sold, and a lot of people think, we need to make sure that there's as much profit in it as possible for multipliers and those kind of things. But in reality, you start to act differently if you do that. And by acting differently, you're not living on the same merits that got you to the successful point that leads to selling the business in the first place. It is stressful. Obviously, selling a business, it took us just over 12 months to actually get to the point from the start of negotiations to signing contracts. And during that time, you've got ups and downs. You've got stress. We had clients at one point who were threatening to sue us because we'd done something wrong, and you're thinking, this is going to unhinge the whole thing.
So did you build that business with the intention to sell, or
No.
did it come out of the blue? Because my experience was we specifically bought that business with a date and a time frame in mind for when we did want to sell, which I suppose is very different if you didn't do that.
Yeah, it's funny because I believe that's the best way. The best way I think of starting a business is to have the end in mind. What's the goal? What's the ultimate outcome? That's how everyone should, in my belief, that's how you should think, is what is the outcome from that business. But in this particular case, no, it wasn't an exit that was pre-planned when we founded the business. I did have a business partner, and the problem was that we'd been growing the business for 10 years, successfully growing the business for 10 years, but things change over time, and you have different outlooks in life. You have different priorities and visions of growth, and as was no longer aligned, we weren't going in the same direction, the same path. So we knew that meant that the business wasn't going to continue to grow as successful as it had been, and it was going to start to unhinge us. So we realized that the best thing to do is to basically exit and part ways.
Did you get an external company to come in and help you do that? Because
Yeah.
we were approached by a company, and I didn't like the setup. They wanted 40 grand up front,
Yeah.
and they wanted 7 grand a month to market the business, and then we did it all ourselves. We thought we're not paying that.
Yeah, we did. We got an external company to market the business, and again, it was similar. You pay up front for the marketing aspect of it. It was a percentage of the sale of the business. That's what we...
So no upfront cost?
There was some upfront cost for the initial marketing, but and then the percentage, but I negotiated the percentage down. I think with negotiation, it should always be win-win. So I said to them, obviously, if you can sell it quickly, then we'll give you 0.5% more. But if you don't sell it within 6 months, then we want 0.5% less than your rate. So there's a bit in it for us if it doesn't get sold quickly. There's a bit in it for you if you sell it quicker. Yeah. And to which they were like, well, we're already incentivized to sell it as quickly as possible. I'm like, yeah, but there's a bit more in it if you do it.
Yeah.
Well.
Did they take that offer?
Yeah, they did that. So in the end, they didn't sell it within that time. So we actually ended up 0.5% less that we had to pay for selling the business.
So one of the things that I get often asked quite a lot is about workouts. Now we didn't do a workout. We literally, from the day that someone inquired to the day we got our money, was 32 days.
Wow.
It was a rapid sale that we did. And then we were told not to come back into work on the Monday. So literally, we went in the Monday morning to tell the staff what had happened. Yeah. And then we weren't allowed to come back into the business. But that's highly unusual. Some of the things that we did to ensure that happened was, because we had the end in mind and the intention was to sell the business, we had effectively replaced ourselves in the business. So we weren't seen as doing key roles. So we were handing over the keys and the management team in place. Did you do something like that? Or?
And again, it's a great point. I put a post on LinkedIn not long ago about the new business that started a year ago, Reformed IT. With that, I keep saying, you have to make yourself redundant. You have to start your business thinking, how do I make myself redundant as quickly as possible?
But even if you're not selling, that's a good bit of advice in terms of, you don't want to be the busiest or the the hardest working employee in your own business, because you're creating a job, not a business for yourself.
Exactly. You're just substituting time for money. If you can build a business successfully by making yourself redundant, that also means you can go on holiday for 3 weeks without worrying about it. So what you did by building a management structure and getting it so that you weren't necessarily needed within that business is again, it's great advice. It's what people should definitely do, like you say, whether they're selling a business or not. We weren't really up to that position. We were close, but we weren't up to that position. So ultimately, I ended up, which was fine, because I wasn't done with the business either. I was still excited by it. Although we had a difference of opinion about growing the business, I was still excited about going to work and growing the business and winning new contracts. So we agreed that I would stay on as the MD of the business for a year, and that led to me working as the group MD for the company who had acquired the business for 3 years in total. So I carried on growing that business successfully, which was great. We almost doubled the size of the company in those 3 years as well. So
how did that make you feel? Good or bad?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? Because you obviously go, I've sold it now, so that growth isn't mine. But I was still proud. Even though it wasn't, even though I didn't own it, I was still proud with the significant growth that we had over that time that I was growing.
What was it like from a mindset point of view, and how you felt from going effectively from being the shot caller when it was your business to now you are an employee to the people that have bought that business? Was that hard for you to deal with? I'm thinking for people listening to this that maybe have to do a workout. What was that like?
Yeah, it was hard initially, because it was very much like, you'll do this. And if they said things that I disagreed with, because I think we should go in a different direction or work in a different way, but it was very much like a business partnership was anyway. I would still have to justify a lot of the things that I wanted to my business partner. Yeah. It was quite similar in that I just had to prove myself, and get that trust from the new owners that I was making good decisions and the things that I was doing was right. And thankfully, within 3 months, they saw that. They definitely realized that I knew what I was doing with the business. I knew how to grow it. So they were very much, anything that I said, they took on board, which I'm pretty grateful to them for, because, it could have gone completely differently. We could have been sold out to a business that didn't care, was going to, do it the way they wanted it, and that was it.
That's often overlooked. I think a lot of people sell their business. I know we did. We wanted to sell it to a company that we knew would look after the employees and the staff that got us to where we were into a position to sell it. How did your staff take it when they realised that you were selling? Was it happy, unhappy, nervous?
They were nervous initially, definitely nervous. But the one thing that kept them all happy and engaged was the fact that I was staying in the business. Yeah. So they felt comfort in the fact that I wasn't clearing off. I was still there, and the new owners were saying it's business as usual. And again, a lot of company acquisitions, they say that and then rapidly change. But again, it was good that's what panned out. My business has been acquired again, so it's been sold by the people
that
I sold it to.
Yeah. So exactly the same thing. So they acquired our business. I think that's why a lot of acquisitions happen. They know if they can roll it up or add services or add value quickly, they can then get a higher multiple, or even not a higher multiple, but the number being multiplied is higher. Yeah. Because and that's happened to ourselves. We weren't allowed to do a workout. We weren't even asked to do a workout. But the first thing that they announced was everyone was getting a pay rise. So they told all the staff, look, we've got an office in London. In London, they're paid more, but our wages or salaries across the business are uniformed regardless of where you are. So you've instantly, and I think the average pay rise was $5,000 a year just off the bat. So they pretty much walked us out of the office. Our employees, they couldn't wait to see the back of us because it was worth more to them as leaving. So and they also got shares in the new company. So when it was sold again, so they've done really, really well out of it, which was also part of what we wanted when we sold the business, because obviously they helped us grow this business and it was a really good thing. So anybody that's in their business now and they're thinking that they do want to exit, what things would you recommend that they put in place, or have got an idea or have got their eye on now to prepare them for that?
Systems, processes, people, they're the things that you want. You want everything to be running smoothly and constantly without your constant interaction. Again, you kind of need to make yourself redundant. But the other thing as well is about whether somebody should exit or what that exit looks like. An exit doesn't always need to be a sale of the business. If you can build a business that is completely passive based on its people, processes, and you can get all of that in place, then you can just sit back and let that grow and take the benefit of that as well. So an exit isn't always going to be a sale as such. It could be that you exit the business from working in it and being in it full time, and you let it continue to grow and take the dividends from it and the money from it.
And so now, like a non-business point of view, I'll admit I struggled when I sold the business because I felt like I lost my identity and my sort of goals, and a little bit like the best one I've seen anyone describe it was I saw a Tyson Fury interview where he said after he won the world titles, he kind of felt lost. He didn't know what to do anymore. Yeah. I felt exactly the same when I sort of no longer could tell people what I did for a living. Mm-hmm. How did you cope with actually, so you've done your year workout, you've finished, did you already have something lined up to go into, or did you take some time off, or how did you cope with that process?
Yeah. Well, so I did 3 years overall, not just one. So I stayed there for 3 years.
Did you know it was going to be 3 years at the beginning?
It was a 1 year agreement originally, and then the idea was, I said, I don't know if this is going to work. You know, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy working for you. You don't know if I'm going to work for you, and it's going to work well. So it was agreed that we do a year and then decide after that year what we do going forward. So I basically went on to a normal employment contract after that. But just as a director. Good? Yeah, a decent wage, yeah. I was probably on the best money that I'd ever been on, even from starting the business. So I was on good money.
There's an irony there, though, that people wouldn't expect that from you being the sort of MD or CEO or the owner of a business, that you'd possibly get more money as an employee.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? That's like a misconception, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, but and obviously one of the things I was saying is you lose the value of building the business, obviously, because I haven't got the incremental value that's happening as the business grows. But in terms of when I moved on 3 years later, and I basically said, and again, that was more to help the new business owners more than anything else. I was like, in order for the business now to be more valuable, I need to not be in it, because it's always going to, if anyone's going to buy it, they're still going to be pointing at me and going, but he's too pivotal in the business.
Yeah.
So I said, how about I leave, I set up my own consultancy practice, help him, and I can still help you as a consultant, you know, continue to help and develop the business. And that's what we did. I continued to do it as an external consultant. And again, it did help them in the end, because it allowed them, you know, that grace, and that, you know, they got rid of my salary straight away and national insurance and everything. So it helped their valuation. But in terms of what I wanted to do afterwards, after that period, the wife loved it because I was at home more, set up an office at home. And
that's what you think. You probably hated it, is the reality.
And now I've gone back to working all the hours again. But I think one of the things that's really important, and again, I think you probably know this more than most, is personal brand. The great thing that I've had since selling the business is I built really good relationships with loads of business owners in Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, and built loads of really good, trusted relationships where people thought, you know, Joe knows what he's doing, he knows what he's talking about. So when I have started other consultancy, process improvement businesses, and another IT business, naturally the leads come quite easily because people know me and they trust me. So the whole exercise and the whole process has been good because it's also helped my personal brand.
And do you think doing the 3 years as almost like a sort of intermediary as an employee helped you? How do you think you would have coped if they just told you not to turn up into work on Monday?
I think I'd have been probably similar to how I was at the end, but that 3 years definitely gave me a bigger confidence boost because I did it at a completely different level. The group that acquired us were bigger than us, and I grew their business and profits as well. So it definitely, and I was looking after 40 or so people within the group. I think it gave me a confidence boost as well.
Thanks to Joe for joining us on Habitz Xtra, where we were talking about some of the trials and tribulations of selling your business.